So I'm going to look at how nutrition affects your health. So I'm going to look at basically healthy eating, and I got some images from the grocery store. So we're going to look at some things that you can do in the grocery store to pick out some of these healthier foods that you can select. So you know that healthy eating, we want to look at healthy eating patterns so that we know that healthy eating is important for your overall health. And as far as, I think it was asked originally about, looking at eating through this time of COVID-19. And I mean, there has been some things in the news about, specific foods or supplement and preventing, people from catching COVID-19, but there is no specific food or specific supplement to prevent us from catching COVID-19. But healthy eating in general can help us to have a better well-being, because there are a lot of people that maybe feel more isolated or more depressed during this time. So healthy eating can help us to get through maybe feeling more isolated. So we want to look at basic healthy eating for overall health. So we don't want to eat too much or foods that have a lot of sugar, fat, and salt. Those are the main ingredients in the food that we want to try to limit. And those foods that are high in those ingredients can lead to heart disease, stroke, obesity, diabetes. They can lead to tooth decay and some kinds of cancers as well. Also, by eating healthy, it can help to improve your immune system. So having a strong immune system can help to prevent some diseases. But healthy eating isn't the only thing that keeps our immune system strong. We need enough sleep and we need stress management. So focusing on those three aspects can improve our immune system. So as far as diet goes, we want to look at getting lots of vitamins and minerals. So those are sufficient in a lot of fruits and vegetables. We need protein for a strong immune system. So we get protein from a lot of our meats and meat alternatives. And we also need some of the probiotics, and they help to keep the microbes in our gut healthy as well. So they come from some of those, like the yogurts and kombuchas and some of those other fermented foods that we can get into our diet. So this is just an example of a healthy meal, a healthy plate. We recommend that most of the plate, so this is like half the plate, be vegetables. This is at a meal time. Okay, so this one particular meal has two different kinds of vegetables, but it could be just, the one vegetable, same vegetable being half the plate, a quarter of the plate being your meat or your meat alternative, and then the other quarter of your plate being your grain. Okay, so in this case, it's rice being a quarter of the plate. Okay, so we want to focus on those healthier foods, the foods that are your fruits and your vegetables and your whole grains, and not so much the foods that are your processed foods. So those are the foods that are on the left side in this picture. So the healthier foods are going to be the foods that are lower in salt, sugar, fat, specifically saturated fats, as those are the ones that can lead to heart disease, stroke, obesity, diabetes, tooth decay, and some types of cancer. Okay, so we're going to look at the different kinds of foods, and we're going to start with the grain products. And when we talk about grain products, they're going to be foods that are, or foods that contain things like oats, barley, couscous, quinoa, rice, bagels, pitas, tortillas, pastas, So when we're choosing those types of foods, again, lower in fat, sugar, and salt. And there's just some pictures of them here. And then we want to choose foods that are going to be lower in the fats, which are going to be like the donuts that are pictured here. So donuts are high in fat. They can also be high in sugar, depending on the type of donuts that you get. And we also want to get them lower in salt. So a lot of your grain products that are packaged are high in salt. So things like Mr. Noodles, your Kraft dinners, and your Sidekicks, those are high in salt. And it's mostly because of the little package, the flavor package that they come with. Those tend to be higher in salt. Okay, Mr. Noodles can be high in fat too, because those noodles are all pre-deep fried. So, and I'll show you some things on the shelf here in a second. We're going to go to the grocery store next here. So for these, I put a little smiley face and an X. So the smiley face are more the foods to choose more of, and the X are more the foods to choose less of. So the X doesn't mean that you cannot have any of these foods. It's just those are the foods to have less often. Okay, so when you go to the grocery store and you see some of these cereals, these would be some of the cereals that would be okay. They're going to be higher in fiber. They're going to have more oats in them. They're going to have more nuts and seeds in these cereals. Then those would be some of the cereals that would be okay to have, as opposed to these type of cereals. So these type of cereals would be mostly sugar. Okay, they might have very limited amounts of fiber in them. So a breakfast cereal would be a very good place to get more fiber in your diet. So these wouldn't really offer very much as far as nutrition goes. Here's some more cereals. Now, mini wheats, even though you might think that they would be high in sugar because they have the frosting on them, they're actually high in fiber. So they would be actually a good choice if you wanted something that had a little sweetness to them. And, you know, Rice Krispies, they don't have a lot of sugar, but they don't have a lot of fiber either. But you can also, add some fiber to these foods. You could add, a scoop of all bran to them, or you can mix them with some, all bran type cereals. You can add a scoop of ground flaxseed to them, or a scoop of natural bran to increase the fiber if you like something like Rice Krispies or cornflakes or Cheerios. They don't have a lot of the added sugar. So those kind of cereals are okay. They don't have a lot of sugar, which is fine, but they don't have a lot of anything else. And the oatmeal crisp, they're the sugars or the cereals on the right, they tend to be okay too. They're more like your cornflakes, but they do have added nutrients, like they might have some of your nuts and seeds or something like that in them to give them a little bit more fiber. Your oats are very good. They have a good source of soluble fiber to them. You can get them pre-packaged in those, like the Quaker, the little boxes there. Some have anything that you're going to get that are pre-packaged like that are going to have a little bit of extra salt in them and probably a little bit of extra sugar. They're also going to be more expensive. If you buy, like on the bottom shelf there, there's going to be the raw oats in the package. That will go a lot farther for your money than buying the boxed cereals with the individual packets in them. You don't have to add the salt to it when you make it. I think the instructions do say add salt, but you don't have to add the salt to it. And you can add a lot less sugar than some of the boxes ask for. But if you want to buy the boxes with the flavorings with them, then that's not too bad. It's better than, some of the sugar cereals that you can buy and still get the benefit of the fiber from the oats. And there's some other type of cereals there. Like on the bottom, there's a green bag there. It has a variety of different grains in it. It's a hot cereal. So that one's a good option as well if you want some different grains for cereal. So if we're going to cookies for an example for like a grain, if you're looking for a better cookie, sometimes, you know, if you're looking at desserts, usually desserts aren't something you're really gravitate towards for something that's healthy. But, you know, sometimes with these type of foods, we're just looking for, you know, for desserts, it's just a moderate portion. You know, you just maybe 1 or 2 cookies for an example. But you can make better choices when you're going for a cookie. Some of your basic plain type of cookies are some of your better option, like if you just have like a ginger snap or a graham wafer or something like that. There is a smiley face there on, that's a bran cookie. It has kind of like a coconutty taste, so that one's not too bad. But when you get to some of the ooey gooey type of cookies, they're gonna not give you too much nutrition and a lot of saturated fats and sugars. Your plain digestives aren't too bad either, but if you want that little chocolate, there on the top shelf, there's a digestive with some chocolate on it. That's not too bad if you want a little bit of a chocolate. If you're looking for a granola bar, looking for one that would be more of a trail mix type would be one to go for. That would be like more nuts and oats and maybe some seeds that are added to it. Those would be your better type of granola bars instead of the ones that have a lot of caramel and chocolate and syrups that are added to them. So those trail mix bars, going for a lot of the nuts and seeds, are your better option. And definitely better than having some of these type of cakes and Pop-Tarts and things like that. They have a lot of fat and sugar in them, and they're not that great for your overall health. Instead of maybe something like potato chips, if you're looking for something that's crunchy or salty, popcorn can be a good option. Popcorn is a whole grain. Maybe just watching out how much fat is in some of them. You can just buy where that arrow's pointing, just buying the kernels and putting it in an air popper. Or you can even just buy the kernels and put them in like a brown lunch bag and put it in the microwave and pop that. You can add some of your own seasonings or just a small amount of butter or something like that. And that can go a lot further too as far as money goes, because some of those boxes can be a little bit more expensive for what you get compared to the bag of the kernels. I already mentioned the sidekicks, the noodles and the pastas with the little flavor packet, that they have a lot of salt in it. So you're better off buying the plain rices, the brown rice over the white rice. So you're going to get more fiber, and the same with the pasta. If you buy the brown pasta or the whole wheat pasta over the white pasta, you're going to get more fiber. The longer it takes as far as the rice goes, the more nutritious that it's going to be for you. So, adding your own herbs and spices and whatever else you like to add to your rice, curries maybe, those would be better options than buying the package or the rices and the noodles with the flavor packet in it. So other options as opposed to rice might be the quinoa. There's just some different options for quinoa there, or you can maybe try wild rice for a different option for some of your rices. Crackers, if you wanted to look for a cracker, some of your higher fat crackers are on the left-hand side there, like your Ritz crackers. There's vegetable thins, cheese nips. There's a bacon one, they're going to all be higher in fat. So if you're looking for a cracker, try to go for a whole grain cracker. Breton in the middle has some whole grain crackers, and on the left, or sorry, the right there, the crackers like Triscuits or Wheat Thins, they're whole grain crackers. So those would be some of your better options as far as crackers go. And for your bread, choosing more whole grain breads. Doesn't have to be whole wheat. A lot of people say they don't like whole wheat bread, but sometimes they like the multi-grain type of bread. Okay, so you can see there's at least 6 or 7, no, 8 different types of grain bread there, and they're not whole wheat. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be whole wheat if you don't like that. Okay, so those are the grains. Vegetables, diets that are high in fruits and vegetables, they're linked with lower risks of certain types of cancers. We want to have 1 dark and 1 orange vegetable each day. You know, this time of year is a great time of year to, you know, maybe try to start your own garden, or even just planting a few different, maybe 1 or 2 different vegetables. And you can have, you know, fresh, frozen, or canned vegetables. They're all the same nutrition, although the canned vegetables would have more salt. So if you rinse them, you can get rid of, you know, quite a bit of that salt, but, you know, some of it will still seep into the vegetables. So, but all equally nutritious. And then you would want to try to stay away as much as possible some of the fried vegetables or some that have some added fat and salt to them. Not that you couldn't have them, but just not as often. And then milk products, lots of calcium, great for building and maintaining strong bones. Like I said before, the yogurt has a probiotic, so helps keep the microbes in your gut healthy. So milk, yogurt, cheese are great for your milk products, and they also have the protein. So choosing those as instead of these products that are high in fat and sugar. So, you know, this is Cheese Whiz. It's not really categorized as a cheese because it's so processed. It has a lot of added fluid to it, so you're not really getting a lot of calcium. You're getting more fat and salt in that product. And then your meat products are going to contain a lot of protein and iron, and that's going to help build, repair, and maintain muscle. Any lean meat that's halal, so your lamb, chicken, or beef. Your meat alternatives have protein, so your beans, lentils, chickpeas, hummus, they're good options. Your eggs are good options. Your beans and your fish, they're recommended to have each of those twice a week. Peanut butters or any other nut butters, you know, they're sources of protein. They're good to have. So, you know, choosing any of those for your protein options are fine. And then you'd want to try to choose your process options less often. So anything that's deep fried, like your deep fried fish, you know, trying to get, you know, some of your fat off of your meat, your processed meats like wieners or hot dogs, chicken nuggets. They really don't have a lot of protein content. So we want to make sure when we get protein-based foods, we're getting good sources of protein. So you want to fill your cart with healthy foods instead of the unhealthy foods. Okay. So I know I talked a little bit about eating less salt. And salt is a really big problem in Canada. A lot of our foods have a lot of salt in them. And a lot of salt is dangerous because it can lead to, can contribute to high blood pressure, but it also can lead to heart disease. So that's why we want to try to avoid foods that are really high in salt. So a lot of the processed meats, the processed cheeses, like I mentioned, the cheese whiz, but also the cheese slices are processed. The snack foods, like your snack crackers, like I mentioned before, the potato chips, even pretzels, your sauces, some of them are listed there, the VH sauces, and then your, there's a lot of processed boxed with the like the salt packets that I had mentioned there, like the Salt Kicks or KD, Kraft Dinner. There's a lot of other ones that are listed there. Okay, so I think I had showed this one before. The sidekicks, but also, you know, Uncle Ben's have their own packaged salt or rice mixes, but also Hamburger Helper. So those ones are really high in salt. Your Kraft Dinners are high in salt. Anything that's canned is also high in salt. So your canned spaghetti, this is beef ravioli. So you're better off, you know, making your spaghetti from scratch. So buying your noodles. Now, if you have to buy canned tomato sauce, it's going to have some salt in it, but it tends not to be as much sometimes, depending on the brand, as buying some of these products. But as much as possible, making things from scratch is going to reduce your salt content. Your salty snacks, so potato chips. Your processed meats. Now, these are all pepperonis, but but anything like bacon, salami, sausages, hot dogs, luncheon meats, they're all going to be high in salt. So if you're looking for a meat to put on a sandwich, for example, if you get shaved meats like shaved beef or shaved chicken, they tend to be your better choices. So even if you bought, or even if you cooked a turkey, or if you cooked a chicken or cooked some chicken breasts and cut that up to use in your sandwich, that would be a better choice. Okay, so the best way to decrease your salt intake is going to be eating at home, making your meals as much as possible. But, you know, sometimes, you know, we're buying these meals at the grocery store as well. And doing this once in a while is okay. But, you know, we're looking at the food labels when we're doing this too. So you can, you know, pick up two similar options. These are both lasagnas, and, you know, picking the option that's going to be the better choice. Now, if you shop at Superstore, usually the blue menu options are the better choice, but you still want to check it out. So the first thing you want to do when you look at a food label is you want to make sure that you're comparing like to like. So that means that you're looking at the serving size. So in this case, the serving size is the same. So the serving size of the Marie calendars is 1/4 of a tray, and it's also 1/4 of a tray for the blue menu. So it's the same. So we can look at the nutrition information quite easily for these two. So we can see that the calories are pretty much the same, but the fat is quite a bit different. Okay, and it's probably because the Marie calendars is a meat lasagna and the blue menu is a vegetable lasagna. So you're going to get a lot of fat from the fact that the Marie calendars is a meat lasagna. Now, if you want the meat, then, you know, that Marie calendar one is going to be probably fine. But if you wanted to try something that had less fat, then the vegetable lasagna would be the way to go. Okay, but as you can see, when you get down to the protein content is pretty much the same, or it is the same. Okay, we go to another example. We go to a shepherd's pie. These two both have meat. So, and they both compare the same thing. They're both looking at 1/4 of the pie. But you can see that the calories are quite a bit different. So there's a lot less calories in the shepherd's pie, and there's a lot less fat in it. So we have more fiber in the shepherd's pie. And let's see, the cholesterol, there's a little bit less cholesterol. The sodium, there's less sodium. So everything that we're looking at there is showing that the blue menu shepherd's pie is going to be the better choice. Now, if you made it at home, you might not get much better than that for the shepherd's pie at home, because that's a pretty good comparison for something that you make at home. Okay, so that's something that you want to do when you're looking at these products at the grocery store. Okay, you want to see how much fat's in them. So 3 grams is not a lot, but when you're getting up to 20, that's quite a bit. If you want to look at it by the percentage, anything that's 5 or below is low in that product. So you can see the fat on the shepherd's pie is 5%, so that's low. And anything that's 15% or above is high. So with the shepherd's pie, it's 29%. So that's high. Let's just go back to the other one and take a look. So it's 19% fat for the Marie calendars. So that's high, and it's 5% for the blue menu. So that's considered low. Okay. So that might be something to consider, instead of, if you don't know if the grams are high or low, at least you might be able to remember it's 5 or 15% as being high or low. Eating less sugar. So sugar is not just your white sugar, your brown sugar. Sugar is in molasses and honey and maple syrup and all, you know, a lot of your syrups and things like that. Those are all sugar. So we want to eat less sugar because it can be associated with weight gain, heart disease, diabetes, and tooth decay. So, you know, with every sugary beverage that a child drinks daily, the odds of them becoming obese increases by 60%. So sugar doesn't provide any nutrition, no vitamins, no minerals. It's just calories. So we want to try to remove as much sugar from the diet as possible. So all these foods are high in sugar. You know, a lot of our baked items, like the dessert foods, like pies and cookies and cakes, a lot of them can be high in sugar as well as fat. So we try to limit them. So, you know, we have these sugary cereals, which you talked about. We have candies, which are just sugar, chocolate. Now, if you get the dark chocolate, just having like 1 or 2 squares a day, that has some antioxidants. So it can have some nutritional properties that are beneficial. But when you just go out and get a chocolate bar and eat that, then that's what we want to try to limit as much as possible. And then all of these sugary drinks, all these pops, even if we drink too much juice, you know, we try not to have any more than a half a cup of juice in the run of a day. They're all sugar-based beverages that we want to try to limit. So if you're thirsty, drink water. And tap water is safe to drink. Also add less sugar to your coffees and your tea. You know, and don't add sugar or honey to, you know, children's foods or drinks. So you don't need to, you know, be doing that. And as for snacks, you can try different snack combinations, you know, just with what you have in your house. You can have vegetables and fruits, have nuts or seeds as snacks, lower fat yogurt with fruit, nuts, or seeds. You can make a yogurt parfait, so you can have yogurt and just a plain or a vanilla yogurt, put some fruit in that and some walnuts, for example. Have some lower fat cheese and some whole grain crackers like your Triscuits, or you can have an English muffin with some cheese and a piece of fruit, for example. So those are all some ideas that you could have for snacks. So just to reiterate, what you eat can make a difference in your health, and too much salt can lead to heart disease. Eat home-cooked meals as much as possible. You want to avoid processed packaged foods. And adding sugar or honey to foods or drinks can lead to tooth decay, as well as obesity, diabetes. Well, that can't lead to diabetes. If you have diabetes, it can make your diabetes control worse. So you want to try to limit your sugar intake. Okay, so that's everything. So if anybody has any questions, we can do questions now. You'll have to unmute yourself. Anyone?
So that was great, Holly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have here Habiba with us to help you through the questions and everything. And
it looks like your microphone is working, but the sound is not coming through.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, that's good.
Okay, can you stop the recording, Katya?
Stop the recording, yes.
So thank you, Holly.